Live from studios in South Hall on the beautiful campus of Jacksonville State University, it's the Hey Techies Show. Now, here are your hosts in chairs that should have been thrown out years ago, Michael and Bruce.
I'll say that now, I'm happy with my chair.
Okay, yeah, that's true. Welcome to the Hey Techies Show, and don't know how many will join us. We're not on the radio tonight, but maybe some people will stumble across this. And we were supposed to have a 777 pilot, but we do have someone acting in his place as a 777 pilot. He's at least wearing the hat.
That's right. He's wearing a 777 hat. So
yeah, Miami Rick is joining us. Not Miami Rick, who is not really Miami Rick, is joining us. No, really, it's Micah, and Micah joined us.
Our main man, Micah.
Our main man, Micah.
Hi, everyone.
He joined us a while
thanks for
back.
joining us, Micah.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out with us for a little while, as long as you want to. And so, Micah, how are things going for you?
Things are going great, but let me first say I am not Miami Rick. I am nowhere near as good as Miami Rick. I'm certainly not as good looking as Miami Rick, and know nothing about 777s other than I have the hat. So
Yes.
I put that on for Miami Rick, and actually sent him a note that said that I'd be filling in for him as best I can, not in the pilot seat, but just behind the cockpit door.
Hey, at least you look the part.
It's a long for the ride.
Yeah.
So, but things are going well. Last we talked, I think I was telling you guys I was looking for a smartphone, and I finally, Chris put his arms around my neck and started strangling me and said, "You get an iPhone, you get an iPhone." So sure enough, I ordered an iPhone, and it's going to be here in a couple of weeks.
Cool.
Once you go Apple, you don't go back.
That's what they say.
Welcome to the club, Micah. Welcome to the club.
Welcome to the cult. I mean, the club.
You'll enjoy it. You'll enjoy the iPhone. Yeah.
Well, what's good about it is that I'm going to have built-in tech support, because anytime there's a problem, I'm just going to direct message Chris.
Sure.
There you go. Or you can give us a call, 256-782-56.
Yeah.
That'll work too. Yeah. So, well, Guru, how are you tonight?
I'm doing well. It's been yet another busy week in my day job. And
Yes.
I just feel like this. I'm just counting down the days to vacation. 50 days. 50 days.
And Bruce is doing well, I take it.
Always doing fantastic.
Always doing fantastic, yeah. So, anyway, well, I appreciate everybody being here, of course. Now, I'm not sure really what to start out with, truthfully, because there's a lot going on, as there always is. I mean, my news feed is full of all kind of stuff. But I wanted to know if any of you knew that today is Security Awareness Day.
Of course.
Of course. Do you know that, Bruce?
Of course.
Oh,
Today
okay.
was also Have Fun at Work Day, National Have Fun at Work Day.
I wonder how many people did that.
And
I didn't have fun at work today. I had a lot of coding to do. I did not have fun.
I thought it was my usual insecurity I was feeling, but I thought it was the paranoia creeping up on me. But then I realized it's just the paranoids that are coming after me.
Oh, okay. The paranoids that are coming after you. Oh, my goodness. Well, Bruce, I found something right off the bat.
What's that?
About security. Did you see where Symantec partner caught running tech support scam?
I want to say I heard. Is this recent news? Because I want to say I heard this a while back.
Yeah. It came out. This was January 25th.
Maybe that was one. No, that would have been this week. I want to say I already knew this. Maybe it was Dell. It was Dell. That I heard about this.
It's Brazine scheme charged consumers 5 times the list price for Norton Security software, and Symantec has terminated their partnership.
And where is this company based out of?
Yeah, it's saying, according to San Jose, California-based Malwarebytes, Silurin, Silurin tech support ran a scam in which its employees who billed themselves as support technicians used obscure but harmless entries in Windows Event Viewer to Task Manager to claim that a PC had been overwhelmed by malware then leverage those bogus threats to sell overpriced copies of Symantec, and an annual contract for follow-up phone support. Good grief. I'm trying to see. I don't see where this company, I'm not sure where this company's from it's not in the article. It doesn't appear. But anyway, you often hear of these things, or at least I do, and they're not legit. This one was legit from a company, but it was not legit in a way.
Apparently, they're based out of Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Does it say in here, and I don't see it?
Well, I know. I just Googled it.
Well, I know that.
And,
I figured you Googled it.
And one of the reviews says, I contacted Solarian Tech /premium support, and my nightmares started.
My nightmares started.
Yeah.
Well, there's as long as we're talking about security, there's another little security news that came out today, at least that I read, and that was that I hear that Oracle is going to be dropping Java for the web.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
What does that mean to the average user? I mean, that's what I would be curious about, because I know that Firefox and Chrome has pretty much dropped Java.
Yeah.
How is that going to affect people?
I think it's most the regular person, not really, unless that regular person also works and has a day job.
Yeah.
A day job in tech, you mean?
Well, not really. I mean, we have stuff here that supports it. That's,
Yeah, one of the main things that most administrative people use requires the Java VM to be installed on that PC for it to launch. So we've already run into issues like with Chrome not supporting it, stuff like that. So this could be a big deal for some people.
Yeah, mostly for developers, and
we're already down to like Windows Internet Explorer almost left to support, to be able to use some forms of our connection with admin banner, as they call it, which it has to have Java.
Yes.
Now, for those of us who aren't really techies like you guys, because you guys really know this stuff, and I just kind of fit in and ask silly questions. There's Java and there's JavaScript. Now, there's a difference between those two things, isn't there? Can you kind of explain that? Because I'm using both, I think.
Take it away, Gary.
JavaScript is more. Well, I'll let Guru chime in.
Go ahead, Michael.
JavaScript.
Better.
No. I don't. I know. I will say this: JavaScript has more to do with HTML. It's a programming language that they use on websites. It really, Java is a whole applet. It's actually something that they have to write programs for, like a Java applet, is my understanding. It runs on a platform.
Well, it's based on an old Netscape plugin API.
Right.
And that's there.
That makes sense.
Yeah, over the course of however long it is going to be that they phase this out, it will slowly disappear from Java's API.
Now, one of the questions I had about that too, to go on, is that my cable box from Time Warner Cable runs on Java. Now, does that mean that somebody can invade my cable box?
So, the cable companies.
I would say, well, Bruce got opinions about cable companies, but I would say, I'd say you're less likely at risk on those type of devices because ATMs run Java. I mean, there's probably a lot of Java on your smart television if you have one of those. I mean, because that's a very popular platform. Because then with Java, you can develop in Java and you can run it on any platform because they have VMs for, OS 10, Linux, Windows, other operating systems. So Java is a lot more prevalent than most average people think. But the thing that's the problem is what Bruce said earlier is that plugin that allows you to run Java stuff in a web browser, run actual programs. And that's what the problem is. And I think the average user is not going to have problems with it. It's going to be the enterprise customers. And like we said with the admin banner, that banner software is one of the most popular higher education ERPs that exists. So it's a big deal for those type of users.
Exactly.
You
I
know,
was gonna say,
not to get off on a tangent about Banner, but they're working on being less reliant on that. They're trying to revamp the user interface, and basically reason we use it at our employer is because admin Banner is running on Oracle Forms, and it's kind of Oracle and Java, they're kind of married together, so you kind of have to use Java through a web browser in order to kind of launch the Oracle Forms.
Right.
That's what they're working on getting rid of, is the Oracle Forms.
Okay.
And most people listening is like, what the heck is he talking about? So I apologize.
I just came into this like totally lost.
Well, it is Hey Techies, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
that's right.
So we're being techie.
But
Yeah.
for the average consumer, you shouldn't have to worry about this, because JavaScript's going to continue to run, because most of your websites have JavaScript. I'm working on a web application at work. It's totally web-based, and it uses JavaScript. So, but that's different than what we're talking with the Java, whatever the NPA PI plugin, whatever they're calling it. I know
Platform.
whatever that plugin that's been disabled on all these
The browsers.
browsers. Yes, thank you.
And Mike, it's funny you bring up about your cable box using it, because the whole stuff that's going on right now with the FCC wanting to get rid of that, and the cable lobby is pretty upset about it, because they make tons of money off of that $5 a month to reach your cable box.
Right.
Yes, that was a big story actually on yesterday's. It was either I can't remember if it was All Things Considered or Marketplace, but it was a big story about the cable industry and how the FCC has decided that they don't want them to charge for cable boxes and be able to make it universal, which makes sense. We had to do that with telephones, and they've done it with modems. And so why shouldn't it be cable boxes? Why am I paying them? And I just got my cable bill today, so I'm all ready to go. But, why am I paying them $5 a month to charge for a box that I have to have in order to use it? Why is there a separate charge? Why isn't it included in my cable bill if I have to have it? If they're giving it to me and they require me to have it, why are they charging me for it too?
Exactly. I mean, I saw that same article. I saw one on Mac Rumors. They talk about the same thing, basically allowing, this content to be viewed on other devices besides cable boxes, and that's going to be a big deal for Apple TV, and it's the deals it's trying to make with these television providers. So.
And there used to be I guess it's still available. There's cable cards, I guess. Are you familiar with that, Bruce or Guru?
Yeah.
But you have to have a TV that has cable card capability, and I've never owned one that does. Have you, Bruce or Michael?
If I have, I didn't know it. I don't think so. Of course,
I was gonna say, I've got, for my computer at home, I have a TV. Well, actually, I got one right here that's a TV card, but it only does clear QAM, and
but
was it APS-C?
But
now it's
go ahead.
Now some of the larger cable companies, I think DirecTV for a while offered where you could get a card put in your computer that decrypted that signal.
The cable cards look kind of like the old PCM CIA that used to plug into a laptop. I'm dating myself here. Back in the late '90s, I remember having this in laptops where you could have like a wireless modem, not wireless modem, wireless Ethernet. That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, they look.
You have to plug that in. Your television has to be able to have that slot, and basically you don't have to have a cable box anymore with cable card. But I've personally never owned a television
that had
that capability.
Yeah, I've never seen one. But what's interesting is that it's a cable card or a cable box. But either way, you have to rent it from your cable company.
Either way, you're paying the cable company. And that's something, Bruce, a couple years ago, our local cable company, they started going to an all digital signal, and you were required to have those on every television.
Yeah.
And that's when I kind of parted ways with the cable television and got satellite.
Still had to pay.
I still had to pay, but I got a better service.
Oh, better service. It's actually.
Yeah, I've always had satellite since I've been paying the bill. So since
I had satellite when I wasn't paying the bill.
Well, we didn't. So
another interesting thing, as long as we're talking about cable companies, and maybe we'll get Bruce to get going on this, but if not, maybe I will. But but again, I got my cable bill today. Do you know that I have a surcharge for over-the-air TV now with Time Warner? there's a $5 surcharge for over-the-air television, as opposed to including it in my bill. And I hate these surcharges and fees, because there's a difference between fees and taxes. People don't know that. Include that in my bill. Make it a complete total. Don't start adding these surcharges and fees. But there's an over-the-air surcharge with Time Warner because now, cable companies need to be able to pay the over-the-air broadcasters to rebroadcast through the cable company. So they're charging me a surcharge if I want to get it, and I can't not get it.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yes.
It's just another way to make money.
Yeah, it is. That's true. But what is Bruce has got his mouth gaping?
I don't know what to say about it. I mean, it's like, are you serious?
Well, it's like, you remember, Bruce, I don't know if you were a cable television customer, but I remember reading about this after I left the cable company here locally. When they picked up the SEC network, the Southeastern Conference, football or sports network, I guess you'd say, they started adding a surcharge to everybody's bill.
Package, I think, is what it was.
Yeah, they picked up that network, but basically they just passed it on in a mandatory fee.
Yeah.
What I think's interesting, and I'm going to get, if y'all had tomatoes, I'm going to get tomatoes thrown at me. I think it's interesting that more people are upset about the cable bill than they're upset about how much taxes they pay. That's interesting to me. I mean, you can get more people riled up with pitchforks about their TV and what they can or can't watch and what they can or they have to pay than you can get them riled up about triple and double the taxes or quadruple. We're taxed on top of tax.
I mean,
if let me tell you something. Okay. If we had, I know it's a techie show, but this does apply. If we had to write a check every month for our taxes instead of it just taken out of our check, there would be a huge uproar in this country of people would realize what they actually get paid, what they actually have to pay. They finally realized that.
Well, that is a technical thing, actually, and it fits with tech because it was really one of the first high-tech uses of accounting. Because when one gets paid, the taxes are automatically withdrawn and you get a paycheck for a certain amount. And if somebody looks at the stub, then they can see where the taxes are. Where there used to be a time when that didn't happen and you would pay the taxes. And so a refund is seen as, oh, great, I'm getting a refund, as opposed to, oh, my gosh, I loaned the government this amount of money for the current year and I'm getting it back without interest.
But I'll tell you, if you ever start a business, which I tried one time, but if you ever start a business, you realize paying that every 3 months to try to figure out how much you owe and to guess correctly, because they will charge you if you underguess at the end massively at the end of the year. They'll charge you 10% sometimes extra. The IRS will if you underguess. I mean, it's a tight rope.
But I was going to say it was the government's, and we're the government. We got to remember that one way or another. But the government's first creative use of high technology in order to get paid the money that they want to get. So it really does fit in here when you look at it.
Yeah, Micah's trying to help me out. That's what it is.
All those computer systems to calculate and keep up with everybody.
But I do understand people's anger and frustration over their cable bill. I have the same frustration over the telephone bill. I think regular telephone, I mean, if you still have it, it's outlandish. It's outlandish. Of course, I know a lot of people are dropping their landline. So, but I'm in a situation where I still haven't gotten with Dish Network, and they still require a landline to do some things for the box.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, mine does. So
you haven't upgraded to the Hyper.
Yeah, I don't have the Hyper anyway. So. Well, one of you guys come up. I've given a couple of.
Well, we got into taxes, so I'm lost now.
Well, I've got a good one here. This may start in the rant by Bruce. Microsoft's Edge browser is apparently saving your private browsing data.
So I have not read that yet, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, there's like a private mode, like an incognito. They call it something else on the Microsoft Edge browser, but apparently it's saving your browsing data.
So
in the browser's web cache file, according to this article from Boy Genius Report. By examining the container end table that stores web history, anyone can see the tabs that were opened while a user was browsing in private mode.
So it stores it even in private mode.
Yes,
That's
this
really
is when you're in the private mode, it's still being stored. So it's not too private.
Now, I'm one of those people that when I close down my browser and I have it set on Firefox, all my cookies, all my cache, everything clears. And I do the same thing on Chrome, and I don't use Internet Explorer because I don't, want to use that. That's just kind of scary. And I don't have access to Edge because I'm on Windows 7. But people don't understand how much is being stored there, whether they're in the private mode or not. And I don't think most people even realize they're in the private mode. And if they are, then they know not to use anything made by Microsoft.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, don't feel bad you don't have the Edge browser if you're not on it, because
you're not missing out.
This is one of many things Microsoft is like spying on you supposedly with Windows 10, which is kind of scary, but it is what it is, I guess. I mean, I hate to say that, but it is what it is.
Are they spying anymore? And I'm not sure if I like the word spying, but are they perhaps intruding into our private life any more than Apple is in Safari? Because it's two different systems, but I think they're doing the same thing most of the time. And I'm not trying to put down Apple, and I'm not trying to say anything good about Microsoft. But I mean, are the companies doing anything any differently, really?
Well, go ahead.
I'll say this, and then you guys can chime in. Obviously, I'll say that I think a lot of it is a odd way of getting analytics. I mean, and sort of not saying really what you're getting and being elusive about it. But at the end of the day, they are getting analytics to quote unquote, to better give services to you, is what I'm saying. Now, Bruce is laughing. I'm not defending it, but I do.
You sound like a spokesperson.
Well, I'm not being a spokesperson. I'm making a point that I really do think that that's part of what they are doing. Whether or not that's good, or whether it's good marketing, or whether it's not going, whether it puts a lot of egg on them eventually, that could be argued. But my point is that I'm not sure that the word spying is totally legit when we're talking about this. I think it's more along the lines of how to sell you services in another way, but they're doing it badly.
Both companies when you say they.
Huh?
Are you referring to both companies when you say they, or you're just referring to one, Microsoft or Apple?
I think
I would include Google in with that.
Well, Google definitely. But the thing about Google is, I mean, if you don't know they're doing that, then you're not paying attention. I'm sorry. Yeah. I mean, they've admit that they go through your email. They've been very upfront about it.
Yeah.
Have they not? It sounds like, I mean, I don't know if you guys can hear this. I hope you can, but it sounds like somebody's drilling next door to where I'm at. I mean, like drilling in the wall. Maybe I don't know if the wall may collapse over here to the side here in a minute, and y'all will see me fall out.
That's Microsoft. They're coming after you.
What do you think? What do you think, Guru?
I think it's happening more, I think, than we realize. It's not just Microsoft and Edge and Microsoft Windows 10. Because here's the thing, a lot of, even like Google, we talked about Gmail and stuff, but Google Analytics, web developers use that to keep track of different statistics about their websites.
Mm-hmm.
That actually works with, you can actually enable that on apps, Android and iOS.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff that, developers and people who own content or whatever you call it know about you.
Hey, I don't know. I wasn't tuning
not
in.
you specifically, but I mean, it's not like this is Bruce, but it's, they can pinpoint it to a particular user.
In this article, it says, we recently became aware of a report that claims in-private tabs are not working as designed. A Microsoft spokesperson told The Verge. And we are committed to resolving this quickly as possible. Right. And that may be true. The one thing is, I'm sorry, I apologize for that. The one thing is, I can tell you right now, guys, I don't use Edge. I mean,
I
don't for a host of reasons, but privacy is obviously one of them. But then again, I mean, I just, it's not the browser of choice. I don't really care for it. But
you use Opera?
No, I don't. Actually,
he uses Mosaic.
Mosaic, yeah. I do remember that, actually.
I used to use Mosaic, and then I switched over to Netscape.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, man. I was a big Netscape person. Love Netscape. Ordered the disc. I remember it had Netscape 7.
The disc.
Hey, Guru, it came with a like a brochure with it, and like a little, like it was a user's manual. It came with a user's manual and a disc. Yeah, you could buy it for like $5, $5 or $6. Seems like at the time.
It was a wonderful product back then, and it was the best that was around.
The main reason you ordered it is because it would take forever to download it if you could even attempt to do that at the time. At least that was my experience, because I didn't have high speed.
Like your 300 baud modem.
Yeah, right. That's right.
Yeah, U.S. Robotics. I don't know if you remember that company. They made the great.
I remember those. Those were the best modems.
They were. Yeah. But Netscape, I believe, and I'm not 100% sure, I think that Firefox is really derivative of Netscape.
Oh, yes.
I think
absolutely.
That's where Netscape has gone, and that's where Firefox came from.
Hey, for a long time around here, after that, there were people that were still using the last version of Netscape, and they loved it, and they were not getting rid of it until it absolutely flat wouldn't work anymore. But they really, the last version, I forget which one it was. It was, there was Netscape Navigator, but I don't recall which version was the last one. I'd have to look it up, but they sure were here at the university until it just absolutely wouldn't work anymore. So, and really the technology of hyper pages, if you will, they later on moved to CS or what am I trying to think of? Anyway, the technology of web page and web page design, that's what it has left that behind in the dark ages, if you will.
Well, I was one of those people that stuck to Netscape email up until it just gave up. And finally, I switched over to Thunderbird because it went along with Firefox and seems to work pretty well still.
Yeah. I always liked using Thunderbird until we went to more web-based email, and I just stuck with that.
Well, that's what I say. I'm really not a huge fan of mail clients. I'd rather just have mine web-based only. I don't know why.
Well, you say that, and I cannot stand Office 365.
I knew it was coming. I was waiting.
I love my Outlook 2016. I can use it and get by, on the web if I have to. But if, like at my desk at work, I'd rather have the full-blown Outlook app.
Yeah,
that's just me.
Now, what do each of you guys use on your phones for mail? That's going to be something I'm going to have to look at some point or another, because I'm sure you all have several email addresses. Do you go to separate? Of
course.
Do you go to separate web browsers, Bruce, or do you have something that puts them all together, or what do you got? What do you like?
Well, actually, the Gmail. All Gmails. Just the Gmail app is what I've used for everything. So
I use the Gmail app on my phone for my personal, but I use the Outlook app for my the business mail.
I did that. I got tired of it.
Yeah, it's working okay. Yeah, I guess with Office 365, it's about the best that I could find right now. It works okay. I don't have a lot of complaints about it.
And Guru, what are you using?
Okay, yeah. I have a Gmail for my personal email, and I'm using the Gmail app for it solely because
it's awesome.
It is a good app, but the iOS mail app doesn't do the push email natively.
Pop or iMail.
Yeah, so I want to be notified, not like a beep, but it just pulls up on my lock screen if I get an email through my Gmail. So I use a Gmail app for that. My work email, I use the Outlook app. Just because I like it for that, and it kind of separates that, so I can kind of hide that app when I'm not, like I'm on vacation or something in 50 days. But the built-in iOS mail app, I use it for several other accounts, including an Office 365 account with my church, and my actual student email account here at JSU where I work. I'm also a student, and iCloud. I have my iCloud email account. That's one thing you get, Micah, when you have an iOS device. They give you like a free iCloud email account, whether you want it or not. It's kind of, I don't get much email to it. It's just kind of sits out there. But
Anthony says Cloud Magic will handle multiple accounts, and it's
Cloud Magic.
It searches very good. I can't say that I've heard of that, Anthony. Thank you.
Now, is that an Android device or an iOS device, Anthony? It would be nice to know with maybe it works for both. Who knows?
I'm looking on their site. It appears it's for Mac and possibly it's for Android and Apple. So it's iOS, Mac, OS 10, and Android.
Is there like a touchdown or there's something?
Yes, there is a
Yes.
touchdown app. Yes,
I know
that's
somebody
correct.
that uses that and they love it.
We had to use that back when we first moved to our product. There was a little situation where what happened was one of the versions of Zimbra, I think, that we were using, it wouldn't quite do the connections with everything. Like calendar wouldn't sync. Some things wouldn't sync correctly. And so we had to use that. There was a few people that individuals that had to use that. So
Yeah, I didn't know Symantec owned Touchdown because I've heard of this before because my mother is a nurse, a home health nurse, and
Cloud Magic.
she has like a tablet issued where they do all their charting and stuff on a Android tablet, and it has Touchdown for the corporate email on it. So I have seen it before, but I didn't realize it was for iOS too. And Symantec owned them. So how about that?
Yeah.
But it must have been recent because if you go to the iTunes store, it's by Nitro Desk is the
Nitro
Yeah,
Desk,
Nitro
yeah.
Desk. Yeah,
But
that's right.
now if you pull it, if you look at the screenshots, it's got Symantec all over it. So I think it must have been a recent acquisition, I would assume.
Just to give a little more information here about Cloud Magic, it is featured on Wall Street Journal. Apparently, it has had a highest rated email app. Oh, it's got a Webby award too. So
Yeah, I'm looking at it. Looks pretty
so
good.
it'd be interesting to see. Yeah, works with Gmail Exchange, Outlook. So yeah. It has instant push notifications, easy on battery. That's a big deal. I mean, email clients will suck you dry.
That was one of my big concerns in looking at phones, and I ended up going with the iPhone 6s because I could get the new iPhone case that has a battery in it too. So
Right, exactly. And there are some. I'm sorry, Michael, but there are some Android selections that have those type too. But you're right, absolutely. The iPhone with the battery in it. Yep, the extra battery. Yep.
Mophie, I think, is a company that makes a bunch of different kinds of cases for all sorts of different phones that have extra batteries in it that looks like they're very highly rated.
Correct, Mophie. And later on, I've got a battery story about a brand new battery technology that they have that they have not come across because it's not brand new. I did say that, but what I meant is they've been able to stabilize it, and it's a new lithium oxygen. It's not something that they haven't been working on for years, but they were able to really stabilize it. But it looks like that's going to be a possibility now and will have super impact possibly on small devices. Lithium oxygen. I think that's what I read.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it is. I knew you would really enjoy it, Bruce. You and batteries.
Sorry, I was reading all this.
Oh, that was the
me.
guru.
That was
I apologize, Guru.
Yeah, you
I
better
just like to be able to-
apologize.
I just like to be able to pop a couple of double A's into whatever I'm using. You know,
Yeah, no,
Bring
that's
that from away and pop.
that's always good too.
Did you ever have? Did any of y'all ever have?
There you go.
I got some too.
Anthony says that and you guys got to read it, but Anthony says search in Gmail is terrible.
That's
Now,
what I was reading. I love the search in Gmail.
well,
I can always find what I'm looking for.
I think it's how you learn to use something. I do agree. I think, and maybe how your mail, to me, Gmail is good. I've used it for a long time. I'm happy with it. I don't know that I've ever missed a message. I will say this. Gmail has done a very good job about catching spam. I don't know whether it's because they know because they send so much of it out that they're experts at, Google's experts at catching it. That's a possibility. Yeah. But they seem to be, I get very, very few, if any, false positives. And that's a big deal to me.
I've got to say that I think, although there's still a lot of spam out there, I found that I have accounts with Gmail as well as Outlook, Hotmail, both, and even an old AOL account and a couple of Yahoo accounts. And everything seems to go into the spam filter that's spam. It's rare when it's something it's not that goes into the spam filter, and it's rare that I get spam that comes into the inbox. So I think that whole technology has improved greatly overall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the battery I was talking about is a breakthrough battery prototype can store 5 times the energy of current lithium ion. Down here it says, according to an article in Nature, these kinds of batteries have proven tricky to develop in the past since solid lithium oxygen has been difficult to synthesize in pure form because it is, I'm going to butcher this word,
Thermodynamically?
Yeah, thermodynamically. I knew the word, I just couldn't. Unstable, however, they've now discovered that crystalline lithium oxygen can be stabilized in a lithium oxygen battery by using suitable graphene-based cathode. You know, we talked about graphene one time on the show. It's been a while back.
Sorry about that.
So anyway, it'll be interesting to see how this is going to work, because if they can get a battery that has 5 times, isn't that what I just read? That will be pretty amazing. I think 5 times the energy.
Will it explode?
Yeah, or it'll explode.
Battery technology is really, I think that's the wave of the future. That's the high tech way, because we're going to be seeing in terms of energy savings and the solar power and things like that. The solar doesn't shine at night, so we're going to be charging batteries during the day to get solar power from our roofs to be able to use at night and wherever else. And I think we're going to, and with hybrid cars and battery powered cars, I think we're going to be seeing a lot of things happen with battery technology over a long period of time. And Bruce, you're laughing at me.
No.
I apologize. I'm listening to you too, but I'm laughing at this Anthony. He's pretty funny.
Yeah, there he is. He's talking about Bruce's hoverboard again.
Yeah, maybe you can put the batteries in the hoverboard batteries in the phones. Yeah, right.
Unfortunately, that's what's wrong with the hoverboards.
Yeah, catches fire. Still banned, by the way, in most universities. I haven't seen a lift on that.
Yeah, in most airlines and most everywhere else.
Yeah, right. I'm surprised they just haven't been banned for the reason that they could be dangerous. Just that alone. Well, you can fall off of them and get hurt is what I'm getting.
You can fall off a skateboard.
Oh, I agree with you. I'm saying I'm surprised I haven't seen that. That's what I'm not saying I agreed with it. I'm saying I'm surprised.
I know you don't.
Yeah.
Well, I think the difference is, Bruce, that when you fall off a skateboard, the odds are the skateboard's not going to explode in your face when you're down by the ground by it.
That is true.
Well, that's certainly the possibility. Yeah.
It's a skateboard in a Michael Bay movie. Who knows?
Yeah, that's good.
But I was going to say, being that I'm filling in here for Miami Rick, I wonder if the hoverboards are banned in the Boeing plants because, Boeing still has the batteries going in the 787, so they've got to be in favor of lithium-ion batteries in all their products, right?
You have a point there, Mike. I wonder what their Boeing stance is on it. We'll have to save that for next week when Miami Rick joins us.
Yeah, I know. I was asked several people I talked to, they said, you need to ask him about lasers. If lasers really bother you from the ground, if they shined at the pilot, that was the big question. I mean, several people said, ask about lasers. I said, seriously? You're like the 7th person.
When you said that at lunch today, Michael, I was like, exactly. Lasers are bad for airline pilots. And I can tell you, Miami Rick's got an opinion about it. And that's all I will say about that.
Yeah, I could tell.
Obviously, Michael has not listened to many APG episodes.
No, but I could tell from reading his bio that he is very opinionated, which that's fine. He should be. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, except that the good thing about Miami Rick is that all his opinions are right, and you can tell him I said that.
Okay, it's getting deep in here now.
But speaking of Miami Rick, if anybody in our audience has a question that they would like to ask, send us an email, questions@heytechieshow.com.
Yeah.
And we'll get it on next week.
We'll put it on next week. We provided all the schedules line up again. So
thank you, Guru. Appreciate that.
Unless you got a question tonight. Of course,
we have
a 777 pilots, too. He has a hat.
Yeah, I was going to say, are you taking calls tonight? I don't know if you're in the studio.
No, we're not.
Yeah, not taking calls.
There's no
Okay.
bed. There's no bed in the studio, so we're not in the
Yeah.
studio. So anyway, and my bookshelf back there. So yeah, it would be great to be in the studio. And oh, by the way, mention of that, we're going to be there the next 3 weeks. So if nothing changes, so
Fingers crossed.
there's no sporting events on Thursday night for 3 weeks.
So next week, when you have Miami Rick on, who is a 777 pilot, you'll be in the studio and he'll be able to take calls?
The problem is he may have the only line tied up. We may have to take
Oh.
a phone call for an interview.
We're not real sure yet. We admit.
Okay.
Michael's trying to work on Blab in the studio at WLJS. We're not
we'll
there
see.
yet.
I don't. We'll see. We'll see. That's all I know to tell you. Forget
Well, that would be great if it could happen. I'm sure he'll enjoy it, as will you. And if it can't, then you'll just do it this way.
Yeah. Right. Well, Bruce, what do you got?
So Circuit City's making a comeback. Never thought I'd say that.
I saw that.
Yeah, so they're planning on starting in Dallas, which I think is a horrible idea after my trip to Dallas, because I stopped in 2 Best Buy stores. I don't know if I said this.
I'm
on
sorry.
one of the
I don't think you
shows.
said it on air.
I couldn't hear part of what you said. What's coming? What's the? I apologize.
Circuit City.
Oh, okay. It's making a comeback. I apologize, guys.
They're going to try.
No.
They're going to open some stores, and the first one's going to open up in Texas in June. And the reason why I say I think Dallas is a bad idea, I went to 2 Best Buy stores to look for a USB-C car charger just to see if they had one. And went into the first store, browsed for probably a good 10 minutes. Not a single person came over and said, "Hey, how you doing? Can I help you find anything?" Nothing. And in the second store, after about 5 minutes, someone came up and they were like, "Can I help you find anything?" I said, "Yes, I'm looking for a USB-C car charger." They're like, "I don't know what that is."
Good grief.
Oh goodness.
Took out her tablet, went to the Best Buy website, and she was like, "Is this what you're looking for?" And both of them said out of stock. So I was just like, "Sure, but you're out of stock."
Is
She's
it
just
bigger
like-
than a bread box?
She's like, "Sorry, I don't know what that is."
Well, that's one of the interesting things about when you go to buy technology and you go to any store, and I'm not going to mention any names because there's a lot of them out there. But, I'm not an expert on tech. I know a little bit here and there, although there was a time when I sold stereo equipment and TVs and things like that in a place called Crazy Eddie's in New York.
Crazy Eddie's.
It was a big chain and one of the biggest. But anyway, I would go into stores to buy my own tech, and it always drives me crazy when I know more about the product than the salesman does. And that's a salesman's job. And it doesn't matter whether it was Radio Shack, which is gone now, so I'll say it. I'll mention that name, or Circuit City, which is gone now, maybe coming back. And I walk into a store and I'm shopping for a television, or I'm shopping for a computer, or I'm shopping for a sound card, and I know more about it than the person I'm asking for help about it. Those people, the people in the store, if they want to sell, should know what they're talking about. And the people that own the stores should be training their employees to help those who need the help.
Absolutely.
Right.
And I will say this, and I will not mention names, but I used to work for a major retailer in a previous life before I started working where I work now. I was a manager in a retail, but we had the same problem with folks that. What are you doing, Bruce?
You don't want to know.
Anyway,
Come on.
Anyway, what I was saying is, in the electronics area of this store that I worked at, we had the same problem with folks not being knowledgeable, and they did start offering training. It was virtual training, like through computer-based learning. Well, we had to track it, and we would make sure that the employees were staying current and doing the training, but for the longest time, though, they had no kind of training. This was like the last year or so that I worked there. So,
and I can understand it if you're in a general merchandise store. where, that happens to sell some high-tech equipment. And again, I won't mention any names, but I think we're all, know what I'm talking about. Well, I will, because Walmart, Target, Kmart, places like that are general merchandise stores, and they happen to have a department that sells that. I can understand that the salespeople there may not be experts, but when a company like a Best Buy or a Circuit City or a Radio Shack that says we are tech companies and we offer you this high-tech equipment and we're the place to come for it, when those individuals that work in those stores don't know about the product and really can't give you some specific differences and give you facts and figures, then how do you get any help? You might as well order it online.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'll say this, because I used to work for one of these companies. Actually, I worked for two of them. And when Circuit City closed, their competitor hired a bunch of employees from Circuit City. And there's a reason why Circuit City closed.
Yeah.
Well,
But they've said the stores are going to look completely different than what they used to. They're going to have minimal aesthetics inside, minimal design. They're going to feature products like 3D printers. They say drones, again, UAVs, as well as smartphones, tablets, laptops, and headphones. So it's probably going to look a lot like your Apple store, your Microsoft store, your Bose, all these places that I guess like your high-end clothing stores that there's only 4 things on the rack, and there's not much to choose from. That's what it's sounding like. So.
Yeah, the place where they check your credit at the door, and if you don't have a credit card or sufficient money, they're like, you need to leave.
Yeah. So,
hey Bruce, does it say in there if they're a different conglomerate is starting this? I'm assuming it's not the original Circuit City owners, right? I mean,
so it says the owner of the company is Ronnie Schmoll.
Okay.
I may be butchering that name.
That's all right. I butchered one already.
But they have a goal to have 50 to 100 corporate-owned locations, plus 100 to 200 franchise spaces.
Oh.
I'm not sure what they're talking about because they don't really elaborate on the franchise.
So the whole structure is going to be different, really.
Yes.
It sounds like to me of the entire company.
I don't know if you've noticed, like when they say franchise spaces, I'm not sure. Like if you go into Best Buy now, like they'll have a Samsung bar that has Samsung products, and that's a Samsung employee.
Yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah, that's right.
So
yeah.
I don't know if maybe there's money to be made for these stores to have stores inside the store, basically.
Okay.
Because that's kind of what Best Buy's done with Best Buy Mobile. Is they get to offer 3 or 4 different carriers, and they make tons of money that way. And honestly, I think that's what's keeping Best Buy afloat right now.
Right. I did find this on Wikipedia about the Circuit City brand itself. When they went bankrupt, they sold out the stores. I mean, I remember this back in 2012. Well, I don't know when it was.
I thought they sold to Tiger Direct.
They did. They sold the intellectual property to Tiger Direct, and Tiger Direct used the CircuitCity.com domain to sell merchandise under that brand Circuit City until December of 2012. Well, back this past October 2015, the brand and associated intellectual property was sold to retailer Ronnie Schmoll,
I guess,
who announced in January 2016 that the newly formed Circuit City Corporation intends to open new Circuit City retail locations using a boutique rather than superstore business model.
I guess, that's the word I was looking for. Was kind of a boutique.
Yeah, a boutique, like the Apple Store. When you started describing, I was thinking Apple Store.
Yeah.
Which I actually had my first couple of experiences in an Apple store, because as I was shopping for my phone, I said, let me go find out about it, look at sizes and whatever. And I walked into the Apple store, and I 2 different times talked to 2 different people. And what was great, they knew what they were talking about. They could answer my questions. As stupid as they were or as detailed as they were, they could get right into it. No, I mean, they really knew what they were doing.
Right.
And it was wonderful. And, I heard, I regularly listen to the tech guy, Leo Laporte, on Saturdays and Sundays. And he talks about support. And he says that if you need support, go to Apple, because part of the price that you're paying when you're buying the product, which is expensive, is for that support, and that's the most expensive thing that they offer. And you know what? I'm glad I'm getting it, because I'm going to need the support. And when I can't get Guru, I'm going to need to go to the Apple Store.
Yeah, but
oh my goodness.
You're absolutely right, Micah. I've had great experiences with the Apple Store, and I'm the guru in the Apple juicer, but still there's times where I've got questions, or when I shop for this MacBook Air, one of our first episodes actually talked about going to Atlanta shopping for a laptop. I went to the Microsoft Store. In the Microsoft Store, they have the same great level of service. They know their product.
Yeah.
And I have no qualms buying anything from either company.
And I was going to
locations, because those folks know what they're talking about.
Right. And I was going to add to what Chris was saying is I think it's as much as that they sell a particular product and they make sure they know about it. Not saying they don't know about other things, because Apple sells Nest. I think they sell many other different little products like, I mean, they even sell some drones or UAVs, if you will, Bruce. But my point is that those stores should have better service because of the reduced amount of products they sell as far as differing products. They ought to know them. I've been to an Apple class, and they can be pretty hard. They're not a Cisco class or anything like that. I'm not comparing it to that, but of their type, if you're going to get a certification, you're going to know the product. That doesn't surprise me at all about their system. It really doesn't.
Unlike the big box retailer where they stack it high and price it low.
Well,
move the product. Let's move some merchandise.
Yeah. Well, some of their products they're making a good margin on, and some of them they don't make the same margin on.
Yeah.
I mean, and to move them.
Right. And I'm not sure what Microsoft's is, but I know for a long time, Apple stores, their sales per square foot is extremely high.
Yeah.
Well, what's the old joke?
Go ahead, Micah.
Say, what's the old joke? How do they do it? Volume, volume, volume.
That's right. And
probably because there's very expensive, a couple $100 watches and couple $100 iPhones and iPods, and they're probably just running them through.
Now, speaking of Apple, in the news today, I don't know if you heard about it, and I just put it in Blab if you want to click on it. There is an Apple recall. Just a charger, and I think it's only the European model from what I gather from it. But it looks like there's been a little problem with some of them, and it's a charger that fits iPhones and iPads and I think some MacBooks.
As I say, it includes the World Traveler Kit. So you're absolutely right on the European.
I was thinking I saw
it's
something.
Argentina, Australia, Brazil, Europe, New Zealand, and South Korea, and also the World Traveler Kits anywhere in the world.
So I had mentioned that, and we're still. Well, I don't know if we're in any kind of subject, but it's sort of the news, and I thought that's something that our listeners would want to know about.
Yeah, thank you for bringing it up, Micah.
Micah picks all the same stories I do. We're gonna have to start adding him to the list. He brought up the Oracle thing. I have that one. The Apple adapter.
We can't have two Bruces. That the show won't be able to stand it.
And I read the same thing.
Sorry about that, Bruce. Now we got to get on the same rants too.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness, I won't be hard.
Maybe that's why he likes my rants so much.
Oh, that's it.
I feel the same way.
There you go.
Okay. Now, I wanted to point out real quickly, I brought up about Elon Musk, and I think I told Bruce about this. This is like his second favorite person on the planet, and his first would be Taylor Swift, but his second would definitely be an Elon Musk here. Elon says that he thinks it's quite likely that they will do a truck in the future.
You told me that today.
Think it's sort of a logical thing for us to do in the future. It's meant to a slightly smaller version of the Model S, and it won't have quite as many bells and whistles, but it will be a much lower price point. It will be very compelling car, an affordable price. I apologize. That was the Model 3 he was referring to. So here again, they're getting me putting these things together. But I think he's talking about they're going to have a Model 3 too, a smaller car. than they had prior, and I guess it'd be less money. And of course, that was a big thing at CES. A lot of we talked about that last week. A lot of automation in vehicles, autonomous and otherwise. And I'm not sure how much. That somebody was joking that CES is going to be the new Detroit show for cars. That at least the tech side of it. So.
Well, that's something that I actually thought about as a topic overall, because cars are getting so high tech in general that it's distracting and scary. And unless they become auto driving, I think we're going to end up having problems and more accidents on the road. And I know you don't necessarily like that idea, Michael, but and I don't either. I had to get a new car this year. Have we? We haven't spoken about this before, have we?
No, I don't think so. I didn't. You got a new car? What'd you get?
So I got a Subaru Legacy, and I got it in May. And yeah, I got a few fancy gadgets on it, but some gadgets I didn't really want, like the touchscreen radio. I have no choice in the matter. But if I want to change the radio station, which if I were in Alabama, I'd never have to, because I'd be able to be listening to WJSU all the time. But up here in Maine, you got to change stations on occasion. I can't just hit a button and feel it. I have to look at the screen and get my finger right on the screen. That means I got to take my eyes off the road, because you can't just sort of tactile figure it out. There's a lot of different issues like that. If I want to change the heating sessions, or put the heat up or put the heat down, I've got to touch the screen. Now they put in a voice activation feature so I can do it all by voice, but it doesn't work. And it's more frustrating because you get angry as you start using it. You got to learn its special code, and who the heck has time to do that? I've had the car since May now, and I still don't know how to do that.
I totally agree with you on this stuff.
Micah, Bruce, can we come back to that? Can you hold your thought real quick?
No,
do you mind?
Yeah,
I appreciate it. We got a question, and that's what we're here for, from someone in the chat here, and I believe it's Melanie. She says, so I have a Final Cut Pro and I want to do some green screen chroma stuff. Is there a place to find lots of backgrounds to download? Now, I'm going to throw this over to the guru because I know he has an opinion on this.
Yeah, I've never personally done any green screen chroma key stuff, but they did say they have Final Cut, and I use Final Cut some. I kind of figure it out as I go, I guess you'd say. But video backgrounds, like if you watch any of our current videos on our YouTube channel, there's a video background, and I actually found that on YouTube. But I kind of borrowed it off YouTube, I guess you could say. But I know I've looked at stuff from my church before, and I know there's websites where you can go out and purchase, or you can purchase video backgrounds, or you can subscribe to services where you get so many downloads per month. Or
yeah, I was gonna say, I actually know a little bit about this. Digitaljuice.com.
Okay.
This was one of those, when I worked for a TV station, they would buy the packages, but I think now you can actually become a member if you're looking for something that you don't mind paying for. Now, if you're looking for free stuff. But yeah, I mean, that would be my
Digital Juice.
Digitaljuice.com.
Yeah, iStock Photo, which it's now owned by Getty Images, but they used to just stock photos and royalty-free images, but apparently they do video now too. They do video clips, stock footage, and video, but they also have like backgrounds too.
Okay.
Everybody's reading everything.
Yeah, I'm trying to read it.
So here's what I would say. Here's what I'm going to tell you. As far as how to get that into Final Cut Pro, I would highly suggest that you go to either Google and search this, chroma key into Final Cut, or how to for chroma key into Final Cut. There are several. I'm looking at them. How to use chroma key green screen, Final Cut Pro 10, using chroma key. There are a lot of videos that you can look for off of google.com, and there'll be videos in YouTube, and lots of people, Final Cut tutorial, chroma key part 1. Let's see, let me get this one. If I don't want to play this, but let me put it in the blab. And this might be one that you might want to check out as well. Hopefully it doesn't just play on us. So
Yeah, and the thing about the internet now and Googling and YouTube, finding videos, that's how I figured out stuff in Final Cut because like I got Final Cut, had no training. I've never
Right.
used it before, but as I needed to figure out stuff like how to do this, and I go Google it and read about it and watch tutorials. Like I recently filmed a concert in Troy, Alabama, and I had like 5 camera angles, and I was using just like consumer grade equipment, like GoPros and whatever I get my hands on, and I was able to stitch all that together and make a multi-cam where I went back after the fact and kind of sat there and played director and took different shots. And you can do that stuff with Final Cut, but you can go and Google it and learn how to do it because I didn't know how to do it, but I knew I could do it, and I wanted to do it, so I kind of figured it out and went from there. Let's see.
I'm actually looking more at digital juice.
Okay. So
Another thing too about the green screen, I've never personally done green screens, but from what I understand, your lighting is very important. You can have a green wall or green, cloth behind you, whatever, but you've got to have these subjects very well lit. I don't know, I'm not good about lighting. I've never really had to do a lot of pro lighting, but the lighting is going to be important. So I'd go out and Google and read about how to have good lighting for green screens too, to make sure you have the outcome you're wanting.
I just posted a support from Apple. They have a whole support about funnel cake. No, Final Cut. Yeah, funnel cake. Yeah, with the sugar powder too. Final Cut Pro 10 use chroma keys. Okay, so they talk about backgrounds, but I'm thinking that's just the green screen they're referring to. I think that this is what you may be looking for. It looks like a step-by-step process of what to click on and where to click to put your background in from what I'm reading. So I hope that would help you out because I admit I do not use this, but I know a lot. I know people. I know Guru does, and I know some of the TV guys over there. They use this religiously, and so they know a lot about it. We work at the university, so they use it too. And other products like it, I'm sure that are.
And if you're doing it if this is like you're doing it for a profession or you're trying to start a business or something like that, and you're serious about this, lynda.com is a good resource where you can actually pay a subscription, and they have online tutorial and training for all different subjects, not just this, but other things too.
It's so much you can find online when you're looking for big information that's not quite general, but more general than like Final Cut and chroma screen and green screens and things like that. It's the little technical stuff, the little glitches that get you. Like I think I had mentioned to Michael a few days ago that I couldn't figure out what was going on in Firefox because I couldn't get my Google Voice to work in it for some reason or other.
I was going to ask you about that.
I mean, and you try searching for that on Google and you just don't find a whole lot with it. It's just not there. Turned out one of my add-ons was blocking it, but there's no way to figure out which add-on it's going to be, so
I forgot about that. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. And I
should have been. Go ahead.
Didn't expect, there was no way that you would be able to tell that I would have an add-on that might be doing it and or which one it was. And so I, tested and played, and sure enough, it came back because it was working one day and it wasn't the next. But, it's those little tiny things that drive you nuts. Like another one that I'm trying to work on. Here I am using this ATR 2100 microphone. I love it. It's a great mic. Sounds pretty good. I got the headphones on. There's a headphone jack in the back of the microphone. And the microphone also works as a sound card.
Right.
In theory, I'm supposed to hear myself through the headphones out of the back of the microphone. No way. Doesn't work. I cannot hear myself when I'm plugged into the microphone. I can hear everything else coming out of the computer. But if I were to plug in my headphones, just like right now I have it plugged to the speaker, wouldn't hear myself. And can't figure out why. Could be a glitch in the mic. But it's those technical, and I've looked it up all over Google. Can't find anything. It's those tiny little things that always drive you crazy, where you have to be able to call in and say, hey, Michael or Bruce or Guru, what do I do here? What's going on? You know, there needs to be that hotline. And that's what's really great about Hey Techies is that you're that hotline.
Well,
I appreciate that. But sometimes we're like, I don't know, because I can say this. And when me and Michael went to go shoot that robotics day, and I got back trying to edit it down, and I had it done, I was like, "This is great." And I played it on my iPhone, and the audio sounded horrible. I was like, "What is wrong with this? It plays fine on my computer," but what it was, and I Googled and searched like, "What is wrong?" Because I've done this stuff before, but something with my setup caused the audio, the left and right channels, to get out of phase.
Yeah.
And on my iPhone, it only has one speaker, so it's kind of merging the left and right channels together, and you could really hear the out of phase. Where like at my desk here, I've got two speakers, stereo speakers, and to the human ear, I couldn't tell it was out of phase, but that drove me crazy.
Oh yeah.
What I'm getting at is even though we're the techies, and I'm, people say I'm the apple juicer, or sometimes I don't know, and sometimes I resort to Google too.
Oh sure.
No shame in it at all.
No.
Well, there's a technique that you put through, and even if when you call support lines on troubleshooting, and a lot of people don't know how to do that. And the first question you get when you have a problem with a landline telephone, people say it's not working. The first thing they'll tell you to do is, are you plugged directly into the wall? Because it could be a cordless phone that's having the problem. You need to know if it's the line or not. Those kinds of things. And people don't think that way too often anymore, that you got to get down to basics, because so much is not that basic any longer. It's all very complex.
I've been fighting at it. I talked to Michael about this at my church. We're having issues with our projector in our sanctuary, and I'm still fighting it. And I think I've got it narrowed down to a cable, and I've got to run a new cable. And I hope that fixed it. But yeah, you're right, Mike. It's just a trial and error sometimes, and sometimes it's the simplest things. Like when I first started troubleshooting that projector, I think this can't be this cable. It's got to be the video card. No, it's got to be this. It's got to be that. I replaced everything and isolated it. It's got to be the cable now.
Yeah, sometimes it comes down to unplugging everything and then changing out cables, from the wall on in. And God bless you, Michael. I saw you sneeze.
Thank you. Bruce put something out there that choked me up, so I couldn't help it. So you like your car? That's what we were talking about.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got great. As a car, it's fine. But in terms of radio and the controls and the things like that, it's pretty scary. I have the navigation system in it because it came with that level, and the navigation system doesn't work anywhere near as well as my little Garmin 3700 that I bought, and I set up right there. And it's kind of like I don't understand why all the car companies are coming out. Chevy has a new commercial out, for example. I'm not singling them out or saying anything bad against Chevy, but they're talking about how you can't turn on the radio now until your seatbelts are buckled.
Yes, I was going to bring that up. Yeah.
That's okay. All right, but why? It's kind of like protecting us from our own ignorance. And,
yes. Yeah, it's called I call it the nanny state. I'm not the one who coined that though, but I do believe part of it is nanny state. No,
His second favorite person on the I'm scared.
the nanny state. That's right. So anyway, but yeah, I agree with you. And also, I did see that, and it's the latest Malibu, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
That was that's interesting. I was talking to my wife about that.
Yeah, and the commercial's kind of funny because they say we took off all badges so you won't recognize what car it is. And I think from my perspective, the commercial should be we took off all badges, you won't recognize what car it is, so it really doesn't matter what car you buy because they all look alike.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. That they're certainly many of them are having to get smaller. At least they have a good fleet of smaller cars. And then that's not new. That's been going on for a while. But that has a lot to do with the CAFE standards.
Sure.
Anyway.
But for example, I'm sorry, I was going to say on this car, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, Bruce. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. No, go ahead.
On this car, one of the options I could have gotten was an automatic braking system. So when it senses a vehicle in front of you, it would slow down and it would work collision avoidance. And this was done with lasers, and it was optically done. And I was all set to get it until I found out that I wouldn't be able to use Rain-X on my vehicle. Now, the Rain-X to me is far more important. I want to be able to see clearly in the rain, and since it's collision avoidance, they say it doesn't particularly work well in the rain anyway. And because the Rain-X actually alters the windshield and the light coming through it and the reflection, they said the collision avoidance wouldn't work and don't use Rain-X on the windshield. Okay, I didn't get it, which just some of these design features, I don't know what the technology people are thinking and why they're coming up with their own individual systems as opposed to using the Android system we have already or the iOS system we have already and just licensing it and putting it in.
I totally agree with that. Man, any day that I'm not here, feel free to sub for me.
The 777 fill-in host.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
The 777 hat.
Yes.
I think you had some good points. Part of it is everything. There's no, and there's nothing tactile anymore. I could not look down and know that I'm changing the temperature of my air conditioning. Whereas now you have to look and say, where's, you can't feel.
Yeah.
I got to look at that screen.
That's a problem.
You got to run that dial and watch the readout or whatever. You can't just go there and grab it and say, turn it to the left for cold and the right for hot.
And there's no industry standard on commands of what to say to the vehicle to get it to change the temperature. My wife's car it still has those knobs and everything. But it does have the voice features where I can say, turn the fan to level 7. But I've got to know that 7 is the highest. And I don't think anybody's going to get that intimate with their car. And then what you said about the GPS, as soon as even if you go and get an update, as soon as you get the update, it's out of date. They do need to just integrate this with whatever your device is. That way, you're already used to the horrible Apple Maps or the great Google Maps, and you have more up to date navigation. So, I think that the auto industry is definitely going the wrong direction with the technology that they're putting in the console.
Go ahead.
I was going to say they're trying to make it really, really high tech, but rather than making it easy to read, and I think that's sometimes how it happens on websites in general. We try to update things and make things new that necessarily don't need to be new. Windows XP worked really well. We had to come out when it did. It was the best that was out there.
I just think it's funny that you described yourself as a Luddite, and I'm beginning to start believing you because you're so adamant about Windows XP.
Windows 7, okay? How about Windows 7?
Yeah.
It works really well. Why did we have to come out with Windows 8 as opposed to make Windows 7 better? Or why did we, and then come out with Windows 10 as opposed to just rolling out these updates and changing the feel of it so that if and when I switch to Windows 10, which I'm going to have to do at some point, I won't know what's in front of the screen on me as opposed to letting me switch off and have the operating system underneath and the GUI being the same as what I have already.
Yeah, I don't know about the rest of you, but I think a lot of it is the expectation of new technology. A part of it's built into even the psyche that a lot of people think, well, it doesn't look any different. I mean, why am I paying X price? I don't see any changes. A lot of what we do now, I think, in society in general, is that people are looking for a change if they're going to get something. They want a new car. They want something that doesn't look like their old car. They want
Where's my upgrade? Yeah.
They want a new bicycle. They want to make sure that it has one extra bell and whistle on it than the previous bicycle. I'm just saying this is the way I see it. And I think a lot of that, and give Apple credit where they need to have credit. They are great marketers. And I think they've forced one of their biggest competitors, obviously Windows. I think they forced them into a box that I'm wondering if Windows has good enough marketing, or I should say Microsoft, I'm using the wrong term, to fight Apple on this. I don't know. And it goes back to this. If I know I'll add this in. If you're an Apple person, you're probably going to stay an Apple person. If you're a Microsoft person, you're probably wanting to throw yourself over the cliff in the last many years. The true ones, and I don't know, not all of them, but many. I myself am more of a Windows person, but I find myself using Apple products a lot. Not because they might necessarily work any better or worse. It's because for that, whatever I'm using them for, I'm enjoying that particular thing. It works best right now for what I need. And so I do think, though, that it does have a lot to do with society in general, that their marketing, they're trying to reach and market a group of people they believe is going to buy their product. I mean,
yeah, and I think the companies, and this is kind of what frustrates me and what I'm really kind of afraid about with my iPhone coming, is that the companies are afraid to work together and try to get the systems to work with each other, as opposed to being so separate sometimes. And, why couldn't Microsoft set things up to be able to integrate onto their iPhone, or the iPhone integrate into Android or Windows, so that everything can work out really well, as opposed to one taking over the other? They don't need to be so separate. Even if they're separate operating systems, they could be worked out to be integrated, because there are going to be people that have both at the same time. It's segregationist in some ways.
Yeah, it is. And if we talk about integrating that with your vehicle, a lot of that is they go to Chevy or go to Super or whoever and say, we want this exclusive contract. And they force the car company to say, and I'm sure that's happened, because I know it's happened with Honda. Apple went to them and said, we want this to be exclusive in your vehicles. And they didn't want to alienate some of their customer base to say, well, we're going to have people that have Android phones that now won't be able to use these features of the car, and that may get them to go purchase something else.
I saw something about another company that was going to have Apple Car. Is it Car OS? Is that what they're calling it, or what?
It's like, I think the Apple, they're calling it CarPlay.
CarPlay. Thank you,
CarPlay.
Guru. That's right. CarPlay.
CarPlay, and then Android Auto is.
Yeah, I saw. It seems like I saw somebody was going to have CarPlay in their car, particularly, and I don't remember. I'm trying to look it up specifically here recently.
What did Microsoft have for a while? Was it all the Chevy or Ford Sync?
That was the Ford Sync with Microsoft technology.
Ford Sync, yeah.
It was called Sync.
Yeah, but see, there's another instance of it being exclusive for a period of years, and it didn't help Ford sales.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that there already is some crosstalk. I mean, there's didn't Google? I read it on the BBC, and I'm going to have to look it up. But didn't Google have to pay Apple a bunch of money to be able to, because they did integrate, and it was set up so that they are paying them regularly. I'm trying to find it on look it up as I'm talking to you. But did you guys see anything about that? Because there's already some integration going on. There's no reason why they need to be nemesis of each other.
I want to say that's for them to be is it the default search, or?
I just found it. Paid tech rival Apple $1 billion in 2014 to keep its search function the default option on the iOS devices.
Huh.
Okay.
Wow, I did not realize that.
So, to me, there should be some synergy there, to throw out a buzzword.
That's a good one.
Like
synergy.
If they'll work together, they'll both benefit.
Well, I think I think both of them would come from the standpoint and would say that they're trying to beat the other one at the game. I mean, I think that's the point of these two industries, one coming out on top. I mean, you can't, whether you like it or, I know that's your view, but whether you like it or not, that's still what they're in the business to do, is to make a profit. They're not in the business to hire people.
Because they're not making a profit.
Well, yeah, Apple certainly is.
Well, I'm being sarcastic. What I'm saying is they're both having trouble
you're always
making profit. And they're having tons of trouble. They want to make all the profit, and that's the problem. That's the problem with every corporation. They want to make all the profit.
And profits were down. That's probably another story that's going to come up. Apple's profits were down this month because iPhone sales did not go as expected, I guess, is one of the things that I had heard about.
Okay, CarPlay lineup of over 100 models. It looks, and some of these I don't know. So Acura, Audi, Buick, Cadillac, BMW, Chevrolet, Chrysler, Dodge, Fiat, Ford, GMC, Ferrari. Oh, wow. Honda, Hyundai, Jaguar, Jeep, Kia, Land Rover, Mazda, Mercedes-Benz, Toyota, VW, Volvo, Suzuki, Subaru, Ram, Porsche.
Just say all of them.
No, I don't think it's all of them, but but you could say that. I guess you're right.
All
Bruce.
the ones that I could find.
Land Rover, Kia. There's a few in here that I've never heard of, but I can't because they don't have words and they have emblems. It's hard to read their emblems. So one's got a
Send me the
score.
link.
Yeah, okay, I'll put it over here. But anyway, there's so yeah, this is off Apple's website. So
Yeah, I'm looking at it
there's
now.
there's a
I
good
didn't realize Toyota was one of the CarPlay partners because I recently bought a Toyota, but it does not have CarPlay.
you can now add CarPlay. Now Micah might find this interesting because he's going to know these names. You can to add it to current car with aftermarket systems, Alpine, Kenwood, and Pioneer. So they're making products, Micah, that you could add that have CarPlay, Apple CarPlay built into their stereos, I guess.
Well, what's interesting in terms of that, because one of the things I hate, I listen to the radio in the car a lot, and some other things, and I hate the radio in my car. And I used to sell car radios, so I figured, okay, we'll swap it out. But you can't really swap it out anymore because the whole car radio system is part of a computer and it operates the whole car. So
yes,
it's not a question of physically integration. It's a question of the fact that it's part of the system. You can't take it out and put in something new.
Now that's something I guess because I don't have a newer car per se. That's interesting. So it's almost going to make it where these little shops that could do car audio installs are going to have I would say a tough time working in that kind of environment. How would you take one? I mean, it would be much more expensive. I would think their margin would be much smaller.
Yeah, it's very difficult. And in fact, I did get some aftermarket work done on the car and wanted to put in a remote starter because I live up here in the north and I park outside. And in the winter, you want to start the car up, not to warm it up, no so much for me, but to defrost and get the ice off it.
Right.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
And while the car companies, and I have specific experience with both Toyota and Subaru offer remote starters, theirs are set up that once you start it, it'll run for 10 minutes. You can't set it to go any longer, maybe 15 minutes, but you open the door, the engine shuts off. Well, what good is that? So you got to get, and they do that for safety reasons.
They do, so somebody can't drive off with it. Yeah.
So now there are other interfaces. So I got a remote start put in aftermarket, and this is a local store that does all this high-end stereo stuff, but that's how they're making their money now, is remote starts and alarms and things like that. And you almost have to do that because you may recall that there was a story a while ago how the new electronic keys, because if I use just the regular car key and I keep it in my pocket, I never have to unlock the car. I can just walk right up to it. It senses the proximity, and I open the door and it knows that I'm there. Those are easily scammed, and you can find that. So I need to get a second remote that I do have to push a button on so that if I drive down to New York City, which, is about 300 miles away, that nobody's going to steal my car. It's the only way to be able to keep it locked.
Yeah. You're going to have one of those, like they put the locks on the wheels. What did the steering wheel, what do they call those things? The little,
the club.
The club. That's
the club.
it. The club. You're going to have it now.
Yeah, I had one of those a long time ago. You had a
club on your car? Yeah.
Yeah. That was on the 93 vehicle. That was a couple of years ago.
Well, I guess this is the point where you just, it's a possession, but you have insurance on it. And just make sure insurance will replace everything that's in there. And just say, oh, well.
Yeah. I mean, that's true. No doubt about that. Okay, so we talked about cars a little bit, and there was some other car news that I guess we'll just let die on the vine. I think Ford had some recalls on airbags. I mean, that's not some kind of problem with.
Is it the same Takata brand?
400,000 Ranger pickups because of dangerous airbags. Yeah.
There's that
it
one.
Is. Yes, that's
millions of cars that Takata. I'm reading the article here. Yeah, Takata, same ones.
Yeah, that's the correct guru. Takata. I'm assuming that's foreign. What do you think?
It's a Japanese company that has made all the airbags that have been recalled since we started hearing the airbag recalls years and years and years ago. And, I think it was a legitimate manufacturing mistake. I don't think they knew about it. I think they found out about it, and now they're probably going to go under, I suspect, paying the price for it, which isn't going to help anyone.
No,
it's not. But you're right. I'm afraid you're right.
Yeah. That's interesting. You're right. It won't. Wow. Well,
that's what I would do if I were a company, and had all these recalls again, and starting the suits coming and starting to look like it's going to cause me problems. That's when you go bankrupt, so that way you don't have to pay the suits and start a new company out of it. It's just the way of the world. It's sad, but it's kind of the way that it works, and that it wouldn't surprise me if something like that happens, although I don't know what the laws are in Japan, or even I don't know the laws in the U.S. either. We started talking about that last week.
I may have misunderstood earlier, but there's another thing in here about Google that Google has asked courts for okay to press for sanctions against Oracle. Did you know anything about that? Either one of you, Bruce, or?
No.
Google is asking for sanctions against Oracle Corp after one of the software developers' lawyers discussed confidential details about the search giant's relationship with Apple Incorporated at a court hearing early this month.
Can't say I know about this one.
Apparently, the disclosure violated a protective order that led to an article by Bloomberg that opened the floodgates to more stories, including by Reuters, regarding the closely held information. Interesting. I didn't know. Oracle was not, of course, immediately available to comment.
They never.
Google just wants some of Oracle's money because they don't think they have enough.
Hey, Google gives Apple a percentage of revenue generated through iPhone, but details of the tie-up has never been made public. So maybe that's what it's about. That they don't want the information about how they're tied in, what they're getting from Apple and what they're giving to Apple. Yes, Oracle shut down Java development. That's right.
We kind of started to show off that.
Yeah, well, they JT missed that. So, but I will say I just noticed that this week, if I'm not mistaken, or it might have been late last week and I missed it, there is a latest version of Java out, Java runtime. It's up to update 72. So they just recently came out with a new version. So,
and that's a good idea. Anybody that's running it on their computer ought to check and make sure that they're automatically updating, because if not, there could be some problems. And
in that is a double-edged sword too, because some of these products, and that's been one big rub for people who use Java. I think we've talked about this a little bit. Is that some of these products, the updates break what they already have designed, and they don't necessarily work great with the update. And so a lot of people have to stay with the older virus-prone, security hold Java because that's the one that works for them. And so that's been an ongoing issue. Gurus had headaches with it, but not just us. All kinds of companies have had headaches with this situation, and is another reason why Steve Jobs hated them, Java and Flash. He both hated Flash and it's likely one reason why they never wanted it on the iPad for a lot of reasons, but I think mostly was because Jobs hated it so much. It just wasn't going to be an iOS at all. So,
and Chrome came out with a good way around that, I thought, because what Chrome does is they integrate Flash with Chrome, so it updates automatically, and as long as Chrome's working, in theory, you have the latest, safest version of Flash.
Yeah. And IE finally did that too for anything Windows 8. All browsers will have their own version that's installed, and they'll just update it. That's my guess. Well, now that is a good point too. That it's probably going to just go the way of the dodo bird eventually. I think
Isn't it
that
supposed to be?
HTML.
I was going to say, isn't it supposed to be changed out with? Is it
Yeah.
HTML5? Is that or HTML? I can't remember what it is.
Yes, but by the time that everybody gets around to HTML5, I think they're going to be at HTML10. It seems like it's slow coming.
It's a lot of work.
The versioning, So yeah. Speaking of that, Firefox just recently updated versions to, I think the latest is 44. They kept upgrading and changing, and it seemed like their increments was just, let's see which one we could put out today. 44, 40, 40, 43, 42. It was just constant. I kind of thought what they were pulling was they were trying to catch up with Google to either be ahead of Google on versioning or just near Google on versioning. So, because there for about 6 months back in the summer or late last year, it was ridiculous. I couldn't keep stuff updated around here because they were updating their versions. Now, it may have been code that was worthy of updating, but do you have to? Why can't we wait a few months and let's do a big update instead of every week?
There's a running joke in our department about releases of the financial aid software, because financial aid is very volatile because of our federal government. And actually, there's more versions of Chrome than our banner financial aid system, because we're like at 8.25 release of
I think Chrome's well over 40.
Well, there are some software that's on release in banner
47.
financial aid. How about that?
Yeah. And I just checked my Firefox because you mentioned it, and it was at 4304 and started updating the software. And now I'm being reminded I got to restart, which I won't do while I'm talking to you. But
I have to relaunch Chrome, but I don't want to, because any of the unsecure HTTPS pages that I go to, well, I say unsecure, but the unknown certificates. Normally, I go those that I know they're safe. I type in danger, keep going. They've changed it to where you have to say bad idea. Bad idea is what you have to type. Well, you can.
You have to type in bad idea. Okay.
But quick way was just being able to type danger. Now you have to type bad idea. If you don't want to click proceed, accept, and move on.
So did you get that? Did you get that to work? Because you seem like you were trying to find a site that you had not.
Looking at my version, I have yet to. I'm nearly updated. As soon as I relaunch Chrome, I will be on that version that requires that. So, not happy about it, but life goes on.
Yeah. All right. Well. So what you got, Guru? You got? Well, I guess we could do some rumors, couldn't we?
One, let me get this pulled up here, and hopefully it won't play any sound. Earlier, it played it. I was pulling R Club and it started playing because it's the same PC. The same PC I'm doing the blab on when I'm pulling up the articles too, because it's a larger screen. But apparently, the Apple News app, which is something new with iOS 9, is getting, I do use the Apple News app. I like it, because you tell it what sites you like to get your news from, and it kind of over time figures out what you like to watch, like the type of news you like to follow, and it kind of shows you stuff relevant to you. So anyway, they're getting ready apparently to have paywalled articles inside the news app from the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, where right now you can't get those articles unless you have a paid subscription to those sites. So that's very interesting. That's going to be something that kind of gives an edge to the Apple News app, because there's several of these news apps. Facebook Instant Articles is one. MSN has one. I know somebody we work with recommended that one to me. And it's a good art. They're all good apps for news aggregators, but the Apple one now is going to have a little bit of an edge on the rest of them, it looks like, getting around the paywall. So they've made some deals.
We covered something related to this a while back. We were talking about how much because Apple is killing off their ad system that deals with that. I can't. The name has slipped my mind, but it was a couple of weeks ago that we covered a story similar to this.
I don't remember.
But but it had something to do with this right here.
Okay. But yeah, that's one rumor.
Nope, I have no rumors.
You got anything, Bruce or Micah? You got a rumor? You want to start a rumor, Micah?
Yeah.
Or Bruce?
I heard that Miami Rick's coming here next
I heard
week.
that too.
Yeah, I heard he was coming this week.
Well, sometimes duty calls when you're a 777 pilot, you know.
Right.
Here's one that I found. This was interesting. Microsoft has purchased the domain surfacephone.com.
Yeah.
I mean that's the confirmed fact, but what does it make you think they're going to do? They also have secured some other Surface domains such as surfacelaptop.com, surfacecar.com. So it could just be them just gobbling up domains just in case kind of thing. Like, people these companies go and trademark names that they don't even
bring
tend
back
to
up
use, but
data.
let the
Now, speaking of the Surface, and this is kind of a long, it's not so much a rumor, but it's kind of an interesting tech story along there. Are you guys football fans? Do you guys watch?
I do.
Did you watch the AFC game, the Patriots versus Denver?
Yes.
The Patriots lost their Surface tablets during the game.
Yes, they did. They didn't work.
Uh-oh.
The wireless connectivity, they didn't work. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, which one? And it went down again, and they're not sure exactly whether it was a Surface issue or a wireless issue or whatever. But interesting how tech like that affects football.
Yeah. Yeah. Right, and they actually, I've seen videos where they have cases. I know you've seen them, Micah, because you watched the game. But several of the quarterbacks have thrown them on the ground. Romo's one of them. There's a funny video of him throwing, and another one is by Johnny Manziel. He takes it and hits it on his head repeatedly. I mean, just smashes it on his head. I don't know if they, hey, you need to do this to show the case is really tough, But so somebody down here, I think Robin, is saying that now if Verizon would just bring back Windows phones. Do you know somebody named Andrew by chance, Robin? Just lives in Alabama. Just curious. But if you, Robin, if you're one of the 1,200 people that are actively using a Windows phone, I can understand your frustration. But I don't know. Did Verizon stop selling? No, don't make it. No apologies for a Windows fan girl. Well, I don't blame you there. Oh, you work with Verizon? Okay. Well, don't get.
We'll have to go out there.
Easy. Settle down, Bruce. Settle down.
Not with. I do social media for the.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right. I got you. With. I see what you're saying. Okay. Got you. All right. Cool. Well, that's cool. Well, yeah, I don't know. Now that you mention it, I recently got a phone, and most people who listen knew that. But I didn't notice any Windows phones in the Verizon store I was at, actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah, I was going to say what is
so you liked the Nokia Lumia.
They just came out with was
Lumia.
Something XL, the 950 XL, is that right? Yeah. That one would be a
950 and 950 XL.
I know Andrew was kind of upset that Verizon did not sell them. And he was this close.
AT&T only, yeah.
Yeah, he's like my wife would kill me.
It's a switching.
Because I think he
just
brought
to
her
do
from
that,
AT&T to Verizon because he was tired of paying 2 different bills.
So, Guru, is Apple going to unveil a pencil-ready iPad 3, Air 3?
That's what the rumor mill is saying right now. There's still point to a possible week of March 14th announcement from Apple, and this is one of the possible.
So, not just the Pro.
Yeah.
Now it would be on a regular Air.
Right, the iPad Air 3. So, we'll see.
Boy, Rob.
There's also rumor of, and this article from Pocket Now that I found. I found this through the Apple News app, by the way. There's been rumor of a smaller 4-inch iPhone, but it's looking less and less likely right now. The rumor people are calling it the iPhone 5 SE.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, I had heard about that, and that what they're saying is that there are, although the phones are getting bigger and bigger, that there are many people that don't like the big size of the
Right.
phones, and that the 6S is too big for many people, and so they're going back to pretty much the same size as the old 5, I guess is what it was. Is the 5 or the 4? I can't remember, but size-wise, it's going to be a 4-inch screen, I think, and they were going to put in the same processors and such as a 6, but just in a smaller size for people that wanted a smaller phone.
Yeah, and I think there's a market there. I mean, there's a group that like the big screens. You know, I got somebody I work with that loves the 6 Plus. I guess is the larger iPhone. I can't stand it.
Mm-hmm.
I like the 6. I think that's a perfect size, but I think there's going to be an audience that wants that smaller phone, and again, they'll have a lower price point, which that's also
That's it. Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
That was one of the big considerations for me when I was looking at phones was the size, because I keep my phone in my shirt pocket. It's just the easiest place for me to keep it, and I'm not going to sit on it. I'm not going to bend it, and that's where it goes. So one of the reasons I went to the iStore was to see what the size was and if it would fit in my shirt pocket. And the 6S just about does. It's a little bigger than I'd like. The 6 Plus certainly it would, but it's going to hit my chin.
yeah.
So I decided, to go with the 6S. But if they would have had I guess whatever this new phone model is going to be, I might have gone for it just because of the size. It would be handy. Though everything that I've heard, they say that as soon as you go bigger, that's the size you want, and you can never go too small with the size of a phone, just like the size of a TV. When you buy a TV, they say, get the biggest you can possibly fit in there. And people look at it and say, well, I got a 32-inch now, I'll need a 42. But once you get the 42 home, you say you should have gotten the 50. And if you get the 50, you say you should have gotten the 60. And always get the largest you can possibly fit in the room is what they say. And I guess it's the same with phones. And Robin says I should get a belt clip, but I do that, but I'd also need a pen holder for my shirt pocket. So I could be a real tech geek.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to do the belt clip with a phone, but I've gone back just to the pants pocket. Yeah, there's Michael showing off his OtterBox.
Yes, I got one of these clips.
So, Micah, are you do you keep your phone? Will you keep your phone in a case, or will you just do it bare naked, plain?
No, I'm going to get the iPhone battery case, and I'm also going to get the I think it's ZAG, the glass screen protector for the front of it.
Shield.
I'm going to get
Oh, Robin.
because one of my good Hey Techies friends had a problem with the
Yes.
with his screen, so I figured I better get a screen protector on mine.
Yeah. Now I'm a fan of the life-proof cases. That's what's on my iPhone here. Yeah, Michael showing his.
Yes, I still have it. I have it in my
phone
office.
Took a jump. It was ready to jump off the cliff.
That's it. It's like Bruce said. It saw a penny on the floor.
And Michael, have you thought about getting that screen replaced? Because they do replace them now.
Yeah, I don't know. I like my new phone. It has some cool new features.
I'm not saying you shouldn't keep the new phone,
I know,
but that way you have a backup.
Right. I know what you're saying. Yeah, that's a good question. You never know. I may do that. Yeah. Well, what about this, Guru? Here we go again. And I'm not sure I really care much about this, but here we go again. Why Facebook is about to drastically change its iconic like button.
Oh, this
how many articles can be written?
I mean, this a couple months ago. This came up, and
They should add a dislike.
I don't think
Bruce has been
I'm
on this for years. Bruce is on Facebook 24/7, folks.
I'm going on record that I do not see an advantage for Facebook to have a dislike.
I would sign up for a Facebook account. Yeah.
Just so you could say you dislike something, right? Yeah. I've never understood.
Let's just see what they do. I just kind of like, I get on Facebook, but there's a lot of times I just see stuff and I just shake my head and it's like, it's best not to say anything,
Well, we covered this before at one time.
A couple months ago.
I thought they were going to come out with these little icons. Like they got here like, love, haha, yeah, wow, sad, and angry.
Yay!
Or yay? Y-A-Y? Is that yay? Yay? Yeah. Well, anyway, I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, I know, like on YouTube videos, you can thumbs up or thumbs down on
Maybe
them.
this is another part of their
Yeah.
social.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, but having
Seeing
like
mostly positive out there. Well,
Well,
it's like one or two negatives. How many negatives are used versus positives? I don't know.
it's just too much for me. I just don't want to just turn it off.
Well, it's funny how people react to things like that. There's a psychological reaction to it, and I'll give an example of eBay, which has positive feedback, neutral feedback, and negative feedback. Now, in reality, most transactions should be neutral. But if you go to leave neutral feedback with eBay, and I don't know if any of you shop on eBay, you're warned. Are you sure you want to leave neutral feedback? Because everything should be positive. And that's not true. Most things should be neutral. Positive is when a seller goes above and beyond.
Right.
And then there should be some negative. And so, I don't know if there needs to be a like and a dislike, or a like and a neutral and a dislike. Either you like it or you don't like it. Let it go.
Yeah, I mean,
Well.
you if you buy something or sell something on there and you do what you said you're going to do, that's meeting expectations.
Which sometimes
that's good. It's all
worth
right.
5 stars.
But if you
Considering my recent billings have been good.
it goes back to my days. It goes back to my days being a manager and having to evaluate people that worked for me. And if you did your job, you got a standard rating because you did what you were supposed to. But if you consistently exceed expectations, that's above standard work. And people get so mad if they didn't get above standard. Like, well, you do exactly what I tell you to do. You do your job, and that's all you do. That's standard. Like, I'm getting all mad and all that. So.
If everybody's above average, there is no average.
Good point.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, Guru, do you have This Week in Tech History
Yes,
available?
I do. And
All right. Well, we want to go to the Guru for This Week in Tech History.
and Bruce cannot guess because Bruce already knows what my This Week in Tech History is. Because
Well,
he
I
actually
went to
for
go
once looked at the
add
shared
a
Google
link
Doc.
like I'm
That's like a
supposed to do
first.
that I never do, and accidentally saw, and I was honest. Let's bring that up. And I said I
Yes, you were. So thank you for being honest. Did you think I was going to pick
no.
this when you read it?
Yes,
I would
you would have
won
won.
again. 4 weeks in a row. 4 weeks in a row. Anyway,
Yeah.
this week in tech history, January. They kind of this, so it's kind of the beginning of not say beginning of the end because paper is still very popular, but kind of I guess that was the kind of beginning of the electronic book revolution, I guess you could say. Because I know on our college campus where we all work, the ebook is a big thing with you go to the bookstore, you can rent your book electronically for the semester. Yeah, I mean, so
yeah.
Oh yeah.
it was interesting.
That's
Back in
interesting.
97, that was a kind of a debate started, I guess
1997.
you could say, between a library. Oh, got too many computers and not enough places for the books. So.
Yeah, I will agree with Robin on the ebook thing. As far as textbooks go, ebooks are awesome because I can quickly search. But if I'm reading for pleasure,
Again, I'm a Luddite, and I'm the old guy here. I'm the one with no hair, which is why I'm wearing the hat. But I have a much harder time comprehending things off of a screen than I do from a book or a newspaper. And I use a Kindle and I read the BBC on there and I like it and I scan it. But what I find is that when I'm on a screen, then I'm scanning as opposed to actually reading. Where when I have a book, I'm reading it. And if that's a textbook, I'm still reading it. And if that's a pleasure book, I'm reading it. And when I read a couple of books on the Kindle, it was okay, but I felt that I was rushing through it because I'm scanning through it like I am on a computer, as opposed to enjoying it as I would on holding a book in my hand. And it's the same thing with a textbook for me. Again, I'm an old guy.
And I'll say this because I've taken some graduate classes, in the last year or two, and I have to have a traditional paper textbook. I cannot do the e-textbook. I would rather have the paper in front of me to make sure I'm reading and comprehending it, because I've got to understand this stuff because I'm getting a grade for it.
I gave you an e-textbook. Granted, it was
But
the
I
first
like
3
the
pages
paper
were in
for a
Chinese.
textbook. I like
But the rest of it
figure it out
was.
in front of me and take notes. And write on the paper. I got that. It's right there in front of me.
And again, another interesting thing, we've kind of talked about this a little bit on a previous show, but with a textbook, I own the book. It's my book. I got it. It's on the shelf. I can take it whenever I want it, wherever I want to go, and it's mine. With an ebook, they can sort of take that away from me anytime they want, and it's never mine. I got a license to look at it for the time, but they can kind of reverse that license if they want because they own it. So there's a big difference about it, and in some ways, oh boy, I'm going to sound really strange now and paranoid like I said I was before, but in some, it's a control of information, and if they can do that, then the information changes, and we're going into an Orwellian society. Because if we don't have any actual hard textbooks, the information can change, and you go to research something, it's not there anymore because it can be changed because you don't have a hard copy of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, Micah has an open invitation for any because I'm not there. It's just like having me.
We must be brothers from another mother, Bruce. That's all.
Yeah. Must be, yeah.
We must be. I mean, same labeling, everything.
We talked about that one night, the Wayback Machine. And some people, that's fun. Yeah. That's good, Robin. Yeah, the Wayback Machine. You can look it up. Outdated
but
stuff.
You can opt out.
Yeah.
Of the Wayback.
Yeah, you can. That's true. Yeah. A nice little pointless tidbit there. Yeah. Well, I'm
full of those. I'm full of those.
Me too. Well, now on to our overclock stack. And this is a time where we try to get in as many little articles and sometimes funny stuff and sometimes pointless stuff. So I've got one right here. I hope I can pull this up real quick. I'm trying to. Did you know the CERN, which is the Large Hadron Collider, did you know that there is no space now for new cables for the injectors? Take a guess at how many unused cables they have after upgrades and upgrades. They've left the cable. You know how we do sometimes. We leave cable. Bruce cleaned them up one time. We leave a cable in say like our production area where we have all our servers, and we'll just leave. We run a new cable. We'll just leave the cable in there. Bruce, they have 9,000 unused cables that they are going to have to pull out because they cannot put any more in the tubes.
Bruce would have a heyday
9,000
all those cables out.
Well, there is one thing. Hey, there is one thing to be said about 9,000. Do you get a chainsaw at that point? I mean, does that qualify for chainsaw fun?
Now, are we talking about Cat 5, Cat 6 cables, that kind of data cable are we talking about? Or are we just talking about power cables?
I think it's data cables. Yeah, it's data cables of some type. It doesn't, I've just got a small little article here.
It's coax cable.
So...
That's what used to be on campus.
Yeah,
when we had
it might be actually.
They had to run like a coax cable from the server out to the terminal, and I've heard many war stories from people from that time that pulled those cables. And have big old bundles on the overhead power line.
Well, you can look at it this
9,000.
9,000. Well, when they get ready to pull one.
Yeah, that's always important. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Guru.
I had one about the
Circuit City
that we already talked about it.
If you got.
Let's see. T-Mobile is launching something called New Simply Prepaid. this came out, January 27th. So this is a new article, and it's trying to play an ad. Oh, there, I got it off. They're looking. It's basically, it's a no contract. They're calling it. It's the new and revamped simple prepaid plan. There's 5 different options to choose from $25 to $60. The base one for $25, you basically get unlimited talk and text but no data, and then from there you can get more data. But this gives you. But the thing is, with cell phone companies going away from subsidized phones, it's kind of like everybody's going to go this way. So anyway, if you had a.
So how does that work if you have no data? And I try to use data, I guess they can't charge you for it since it's prepaid, right? So, So for all these people that are like, I
for
want
$30,
this phone,
there is an option for $30. You can get unlimited web access with 5 gigs at 4G speeds. I'm trying to figure out why it's unlimited web access. It says unlimited web access with 5 gigabytes at 4G speeds. Yeah, I'm just reading this article.
Again, that definition of unlimited.
It's Android, so it can't be right. But I only have 100 minutes to talk, so it's
funny how they advertise those things, because up here, one of the phone companies, and trying to remember the name of it, it uses the Verizon towers at CDMA, U.S. Cellular. They're advertising 6 gigabytes of data for $60. Okay, great deal. Sounds good. So I went to the store to find out about it. I said, boy, if I can get 6 gigabytes for $60, I'll go with it. And yeah, you can get 6 gigabytes for $60, but you also have to buy the phone. You need to get your phone service plan, and you need to be able to be paying for your minutes and your texts on top of that. So it's like, so you're talking about, he says, yeah, it's going to be $80 before you're through with it. I said, well, then it's not 6 gigabytes for $60, is it? So.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You got to have the cable box too.
All right, Bruce, what you got?
So Newegg sues patent troll that dropped its case. So I know we've talked about in the past Newegg with a lawsuit they're going through the patent troll. After years, finally won it. And another company, Monero Digital, was just going through trying to seek royalty payments on a wide range of USB hubs. And they accidentally filed, well, now it's accidentally. They didn't realize at the time what they were going up against when they filed against Newegg. And then they realized it, pulled it back, and Newegg said, no. We're coming back after you. So they basically filed a lawsuit back against them. And I did not realize this, but Newegg sells shirts that on their website that the proceeds go to help them fight patent trolls. So I may go buy a couple.
So Uber hopes to calm drunk passengers with toys and backseat mirrors. Uber has been conducting an experiment in Charlotte, North Carolina, where drivers will leave a Bop It toy. Do you know what that is? Oh, gosh, I've seen people play it. Yeah. Twist it. Yeah. Yeah. Turn it. Whatever. Yeah. Click it. Yeah. In the back seat to placate passengers from possibly assaulting the drivers. The Bop It has buttons, cranks, and knobs, and most people, you know what it is. It's like a Simon Says game, right? In recent months, a few stories about drunk passengers assaulting Uber drivers have gone viral. So we can put that link out there, but I will tell you this. If you've gone to Newsweek.com 5 times in a month, you won't be able to see that news feed because then they want you to pay. So, but you can find it in other places too. So, Guru, you got anything
the phone
left?
Companies, AT&T and Verizon, Bruce's favorite companies, they've been doing all this price war, and they're losing revenue, and they're trying to figure out how to make up that revenue because they're just greedy. That's what Bruce would say. So what they're doing is they're looking at trying to grow into the Internet of Things business. And there's an article from Computer World that goes into a lot of different things. It talks about AT&T buying DirecTV, but it kind of makes me think like, what they're gonna start selling think of a Nest thermostat, maybe. I don't know. Verizon's gonna start selling and stuff like that, or AT&T to try to make more money. Which kind of makes sense because they have the wireless infrastructure in place. So these things you just turn them on in your house and they work. You pay a subscription and we'll do such and such for you. We'll control your lights, or they could have security systems. Or I'm just I knew that was coming.
We'll mine more data from you so we can tell what this is.
Well, you got anything odd news, Micah? Wise? Did you see anything that you just wanted to cover?
We covered a lot of odd things from me tonight.
Okay, well, I think Bruce and Guru have a pick, so why don't y'all guys do that? I don't have one tonight.
I've got a YouTube video. It's 30 years of Apple Macintosh ads. So we'll put the link. So we'll put the link in the show notes for those.
Okay, so I have
those unlike Bruce that are actually interested in this. They can go watch the video. Go ahead.
That's funny, man.
So my pick of the week is UpGuard. I've installed it as a Chrome extension. I'm sure they have it for Firefox and others. But it is a extension that kind of gives, I guess, a security score on the website you're on. And I also included in the show notes a link for the company because they actually do more where they'll do scans on everything outward facing, and they do one free scan on everything inside your network. So if you're a business owner, this is something you may want to look at. And they will give you a security port. But I guess the way they make money is then you can base it on a subscription of how many devices you want them to regularly scan. So this allows you to kind of, if you're doing, at least for us, if you're doing any, or our listeners, if you're doing anything purchase-wise or banking, this is a great tool to kind of see what's vulnerable on the sites that you're at.
That sounds really handy and good for paranoid folks like me.
Yeah.
Well, there is an app that I use all the time that I just love because besides being paranoid, as we know from the first time I've been on here, I'm a cheapskate. But I use an add-on called Price Drop. And with Price Drop, you can go to Amazon, and maybe ones that you already use, I think Best Buy, and you can track a product. And as the price goes up or down, it will tell you, and you can always go to it and let you find out what the price was, where it is now, and what's going on. It will notify you when a price drops on something you want to buy. And it's a wonderful app that I've been using for a long time.
That's interesting.
Okay, Price Drop.
I use
That's
that
not a surprise because you're so much alike, apparently.
It's my brother Bruce.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's your brother Bruce. Yeah, y'all are related in some way, I'm sure. We just don't know it yet. Your northern relative, Bruce. Yeah. So
Pennsylvania is as far north as
really? You got some in Pennsylvania? Oh, well, that's not too far from
miles.
Micah.
Yeah.
That's near. That's certainly closer than Alabama.
Yeah.
One of the states which he wants to visit. And now that I can see him, I'll be recognizing him.
I know you're going to have signs at the airport. Don't
Right.
let this guy in.
Right. Now, you won't need a visa.
No, just
to
a
get into
MasterCard.
to Alabama.
Just a MasterCard.
I think you'll be okay. Yeah, you might need that.
How are we doing on time?
Oh,
I know that
goodness.
I'm not the radio guy here, but I.
Well, we don't. The time has been shot.
Michael's the one who has to edit this down into a
to
54-minute segments.
Yeah, but we're not going to really worry about it right now. So I there'll be some stuff I have to cut out this will probably get cut up into pieces anyway to go into Hey Techies Rewind sometime. So anyway, do you have something you want to finish off talking with, Micah? Because the reason I'm saying that is because we appreciate you being here with us tonight. So in all fairness, we have taken up your evening, and I would like to hear what you got to say.
Well, just that it's been great to be here. It was a last-minute invitation. I didn't expect for it to happen, and I said I could only be here for an hour, and here I am an hour and a half later, 2.5 hours later, and didn't realize that it passed. But it's been a great time, and I really enjoyed it, and will be in the chat room as regularly as I can.
We appreciate it. We appreciate you joining in with us tonight. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
And everybody else in the blab.
Yes, and everybody else who joined the blab, that was really fun and a lot of good comments. And you have a good night, JT. So anyway, we're getting all four. She has some kind of app. It's got to be. That's impressive. That's a lot of fingers, a lot of mices. I don't know how that works. It's some blab trick we don't know yet. That's what it is. Some blab trick. Well, look, we have had a great night, and I hope you guys have a great evening. And Micah, we hope to see you again soon. And I hope that you have a safe weekend, and a safe week. So.
You too. Have a good night, everybody, and God bless.
Look forward to seeing. Look forward to Miami Rick next week. We sure hope so. So, all right. Have a good evening.
The Hey Techies Show is produced by Mike Stedham and co-produced by The Guru. Station manager is Billy Dunn. Join us again next time for another exciting installment of the Hey Techies Show. It's gonna be great, maybe.